Hey guys, Hitman89 here, I hope you're doing great. I've had my PS5 for a little over 3 years now, and I played every single exclusive. So if you're looking for a couple of good games to play on your PS5, then you've come to the right place. Cause today, I'm gonna show you the best PS5 games yet. We'll start with the exclusives, so without further ado, let's have a look at the first one. God of War Ragnarok's got a free DLC called Valhalla. It's basically a story-driven roguelite mode for those of you who want to have some more action. And the base game is a direct sequel to the 2018 masterpiece, which is my second favorite PS4 game after Red Dead Redemption 2. Anyway, Ragnarok is a solid game, I just wish it had a more compacted experience cause I really didn't like the Atreus missions. They're boring.
Enough!
Yeah, that's what I said after like 2 missions with Atreus. All jokes aside though, there are no loading screens, the transitions from cutscenes to gameplay are seamless, and the haptic feedback implementation is awesome. Don't worry if you suck at solving puzzles, your companions will figure them out for you before you even get a chance to think. Moving on to the second game, I wasn't even excited to play Granblue Fantasy Relink until I actually gave it a shot, and turns out it's great. It looks more than decent and the combat system is engaging. Every time you stagger an enemy, you get to sync an attack with your teammates. It's called a link attack, and when all of your charge bars reach 100%, you can unleash a powerful special attack that looks like this. It's a series of devastating attacks that deal a huge amount of damage. And if that's not enough, you can grab objects like barrels and throw them at your enemies. Plus, this is one of the very few JRPGs that let you have some online 4-player co-op action. So if you're still on the fence, try out the demo and see if you like it. Next we have Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. You can obviously just get the regular game, but the Complete Edition includes the Burning Shores expansion, which is not available on PS4, and that's why, visually speaking, it's even more impressive. Exploring this beautiful world is very enjoyable and the side quests are great, plus doing them grants you skill points, so they're definitely worth looking into. Forbidden West is challenging, and apart from using your bow and arrow, melee combat has been heavily improved, so it's a viable option now. Also, the haptic feedback and adaptive trigger support makes everything feel so much better. Another technically impressive game is Spiderman 2. It's incredibly well optimized, it looks beautiful, and you can cross the city super fast without any performance issues or loading screens. Speaking of performance, there's ray tracing even in performance mode, so you get the best of both worlds. In terms of gameplay, if you don't want to get the shit beaten out of you every fight, you better learn as many moves as you can. The seamless transitions from cutscenes to gameplay make Spider-Man 2 super immersive. Just don't fuck with the NPCs, cause that will definitely ruin your immersion. Let's move on to the fifth game. While waiting for the Elden Ring DLC, and instead of playing the just above average Lords of the Fallen, you should play the Demon's Souls remake. Even though it's over 3 years old now, this is still one of the best looking PS5 games. And if the only reason you haven't played it yet is cause you're afraid you're gonna waste your money on a game where you might end up getting stuck pretty early on, it's included with PS Plus Extra. Also, it's a hub-based game, so you have access to 5 different worlds after defeating the first boss, who's basically a pile of shit surrounded by shields. Now if you want a cute looking game instead, check out Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And what I love about this one is how every weapon has its own unique feel, thanks to one of the best haptic feedback and adaptive triggers implementations ever. And I think we can all agree Rift Apart looks like a Pixar movie. It's not really for kids though, cause this game offers a challenging experience, especially during boss fights. Moving on to the 7th game everyone should play. I mean if they like realistic racing games, cause Gran Turismo 7 is a simulation, but even for someone like me who's not really into cars, World Map mode can get addictive real quick. Buying new cars or earning them by winning races and slowly upgrading them is fun, and it'll keep you busy for a very long time. Too bad GT7 is full of microtransactions though. I hope nobody buys those so we don't see them in single player games anymore. Now the 8th game on my list is Final Fantasy 16, which features one controllable character and it's the most mature Final Fantasy game to date. And even though it's a little too linear and it runs like shit in performance mode, FF16 is an enjoyable experience for those of you who like fast-paced combat. Keep in mind this is one of the easiest games you'll ever play, so if you like a story-driven JRPG with no challenge and where all you have to do is mash square to win fights, then you'll love this game. I think it's time to have a look at a multiplayer game for a change. Helldivers went from this to this. I mean, it's been 9 years since the first game, so I'm glad they went big this time. Apart from looking awesome, this third-person, online-only 4-player co-op shooter will make you face hordes of galactic monsters, so teamwork is mandatory if you want to survive, and friendly fire is always on, so you can blow up your teammates by mistake, if you know what I mean. Moving on to the 10th game, I'm recommending The Last of Us Part 1 over the newly released Part 2 Remastered, cause at least this is a visually overhauled game and it's a must play if, like me, you never had a PS3 and haven't played the first Last of Us game. And who knows, maybe by the time you beat this one, there will be a full Last of Us Part 2 remake, cause they seem to be making a new one every couple of months. Now that we're done with the exclusives, let's have a look at the best non-exclusive games every PS5 owner should play. Starting with my favorite game from last year, Baldur's Gate 3. The story is so interesting that I exhaust all the dialogue options and I truly enjoy talking to these characters. And that's coming from someone who usually skips dialogues when they're too long. Anyway, apart from the ability to use stealth to avoid combat, or splitting your party and surrounding the enemy to have a tactical advantage, you can use creative spells that allow you to do stuff like talking to animals and dead people, changing your appearance, or even turning invisible. If you're not into sorcery and magic, pushing people off cliffs is also a viable option. That shit never gets old. Oh, and you can play through the whole game in split screen with a friend, or online with up to 3 players. The 12th game, on the other hand, can only be played in solo. When I first played Alan Wake 2, I was expecting a classic third-person survival horror game, but with some flashlight action, since, you know, that's what you do in an Alan Wake game. Turns out, Alan Wake 2's art direction and presentation are so unique that I guarantee you haven't played a survival horror game like this before. Not only that, but it also manages to be one of the most visually impressive games yet. It's a must-have. Now, if you grew up playing Tekken 3 like I did, then Tekken 8 will bring back a lot of good memories. Yeah, I'm old as fuck, I know. Anyway, I played this with my dad cause it's one of the very few games he plays, alongside with Mario, and we had a blast. Moving on to the next one, I love open world games and I've always wanted one with Dark Souls' combat system, and that's why Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of all time. Exploring the lands between is such a joy. You always stumble upon a shady NPC, an interesting location, a dungeon, or an optional boss fight. Best game of 2022, hands down. Last but not least, the Resident Evil 4 remake proved to everyone that kicking zombies in the face never gets old. Apart from the graphical overhaul, this remake heavily improves the gameplay by adding parries, stealth, and most importantly, the ability to move and shoot at the same time. Revolutionary stuff, I know. By the way, it's not scary, so if you're a pussy, don't worry about it. This is an action-oriented game, so you won't have a heart attack playing Resident Evil 4. And that's gonna be it for the best PS5 games so far. I hope you found this video helpful or entertaining. Please consider giving it a thumbs up if you did, and maybe subscribe for more top 10s and game reviews. It's been Hitman89. See you guys very soon.
I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah, you must be rare.